Justice is coming for child killers. If you have anyone watching this video with you that is not an adult, please turn this video off now and watch it later. Please do not have any children around during this video because I'm going to say some pretty harsh things within this video. Hi, I'm Gary York, True Prison Stories. Please subscribe if you like this video. Well, what happens when a child killer goes to prison? I'll give you a couple of examples and then we'll talk about some other things. There was an inmate in prison who had raped a little child, a little bit younger than a year old, and had raped the child orally. And the child died from a fixation. During the autopsy, sperm from the suspect was found in the child's throat. This dirtbag went to prison and was doing pretty well for a while until it was learned by the inmates exactly how his crime went down. He was hogtied with his legs hogtied up behind him, and he was repeatedly raped for over a month and a half by other inmates once it was found out what he had truly done to a child. He was later found hanging in his cell, and it was a suicide. Now, that happens quite often with these child killers. If inmates find out what they've done, they will take action against child killers. If you don't believe me, a 28.8-year retired corrections person, both prison and jail, then go ask an inmate. Or maybe I can bring an inmate on one day, an ex-inmate who's out of prison now, and let them tell you. Or go to another channel and hear what ex-inmates have to say about child killers. They don't like them, and they don't feel sorry for them when they die in prison. Now, not all inmates will participate in being a booty bandit with a child killer. They won't participate in the beatings, but they're not going to lose sleep over it. Okay? Now, how is it that this happens? Well, officers are there to serve and protect everyone. They're really not supposed to worry about what crime the inmates are in for. All inmates are supposed to be treated the same, firm, fair, and consistent. If an inmate is being beaten or raped, it is the officer's job to stop that crime. If an officer knows that an inmate is a child killer and they allow other inmates to beat and rape that child killer, that is wrong. Okay? Now, I know how many people out there are saying right now, who cares? That's a child killer. Let them beat him. Let them rape him. Let them kill him. Well, folks, I understand where you're coming from on that side, but you have to understand also that it is the officer's duty to keep peace in the prison. The officers must be firm, fair, and consistent, and they must stop crimes that are taking place. So, if a crime is now being done against this child killer, now you've got two wrongs don't make a right. Okay? I'm not going to lose any sleep. Let me get that straight right now. I'm not going to lose any sleep either about a child killer hanging themselves. No sleep lost. Let's do it. Let's do our reports. Let's get the autopsy. Let's get the investigation done. I'm not losing any sleep over that. But if I'm on duty and I'm on shift and I see those inmates beating and raping a child killer, no matter how much I hate child killers, and I do, I have to go in there and I have to stop it. That's my job. That's what I'm hired for. what kind of human would I be, especially taking an oath to serve and protect? And that means when you're a correctional officer in a prison, which you are also law enforcement, you have a dual capacity as correctional officer, law enforcement. That's a crime being committed. You have to go in there and stop it. What's worse is if an officer tells inmates what type of crime the inmate did that got them to that position in the first place. An example, an officer goes in at night, finds a file on inmate Jones, gets the affidavit, makes a copy of it, puts it on a bulletin board, and the affidavit says inmate Jones orally raped a baby under a year old and killed the baby with fixation. You placed everybody in danger by doing that. Okay? Some people think that's funny. Some people think that's okay. Well, guess what? That's criminal. Because if that inmate is killed by other inmates, you're an accessory to that, folks. Okay? You got to stop and think. You got to stop and think a little bit. If that happens, and this inmate is raped, rape is a crime, beaten, assaulted, that's a crime, or murdered, now that's a crime. In the case I just described, the inmate hung themselves. Now you're an accessory. You're an uniformed officer with a badge, sworn to an oath to serve and protect, and you have just caused a crime to occur. Don't get me wrong, I won't lose sleep over a dead child killer. I would like to see child killers get taken out before they even go to prison so we don't have to feed them, so we don't have to use our taxpayer money on them. You know, you hear a lot of parents say, if I could have got a hold of that child killer before the police. You know what? I feel the same, parents. You know, one of my children, when they were growing up, or one of their grandchildren, I would take them out if I could, and I'll take my chances in court. You know, but we're talking about once they get to prison, so I'll get off that horse. Once they're in prison, it's our job to protect all inmates, no matter what their crime is. Now, if the officer is proven to have put this information out on this child killer, and the inmates use prison justice to take care of this inmate, or the inmate gets prison justice in one form or another, as I described, and they end up taking themselves out, officers can be charged for this, folks. They can be criminally charged for doing that. Another thing you're doing is placing your fellow officers and prison staff in danger. Because if things hit the fan because of this child killer, officers have to run to the scene because of everything's going on, inmates are beating and fighting, and now they try to break up everything that's going on, and another inmate turns and hits an officer and injures them severely. The officer who posted this in the dorm, thinking it's funny, has now caused a fellow officer to get hurt. Okay? You have to think outside the box. You have to think before you do stuff. Now, I know this is about child killers in prison, but I wanted to bring that out for any officers that are listening. You know, it's not fun and games, this job we do. We have to take it serious. Okay? Now, in a female prison, just in June of 2021 this year, a female inmate in Arkansas who had killed her 5-year-old child was found hanging dead in her cell. Assisted suicide or not assisted suicide. Again, we're not going to lose any sleep over her death. She killed her 5-year-old child. Are we supposed to prevent suicides as part of our job? Yes, we are. If we think an inmate is suicidal, we're supposed to report it immediately and write a report. If we allow a child killer to hang themselves and just stand by and watch, we are guilty. We are guilty of allowing this to happen. That's not in the job description. That's not what you were hired for. If you want to be a vigilante, then quit the job and open your own vigilante office on the outside and get these child killers on the street if that's what you want to do. But you can't use your uniform and your badge and allow this to happen and be a vigilante in uniform. We can't do it, folks. Losing any sleep? Once again, no, we won't lose any sleep. But why would you want to lose your job and risk being arrested for not doing your job? Listen, folks, I think you are clear from the beginning. I hate child killers. Don't like them at all. Now, let's get back to the prison and child killer being in prison. Some of them survive. If any of you have any questions, yes, some of them survive their prison sentence and actually live to get out of prison if they make it through their 15, 20, 25-year prison sentence or their life, 25 to life. Many of them spend their whole life in prison after killing a child. But some of them have the possibility of parole. I don't think parole should ever even be an option for a child killer. If you killed a child and it's proven that you killed a child and you go in front of a jury of your peers and you're found guilty, life without parole. You killed a child. You don't need to be back on the street. You know, if you take a plea hoping that in 25 years you can get out, I think that's the easy way out for a child killer. I don't think prosecutors should allow them to take a plea. Don't even offer them a plea. We're going to trial. If they killed a child and the state attorney knows they killed a child, why offer a plea? Let's go to trial. Let's get the whole thing, life in prison, and in some cases the death penalty, if you're in a state that will allow a death penalty for a child killer. Let's do that. Let's don't give them the plea. If you have the evidence and that they killed a child, let's go to trial. No plea. You know, Your Honor, my child killer here, my child killer defendant here, my client would like to plead guilty for a lesser charge or lesser years. And I'm the state attorney. Oh, Your Honor, there is no plea on the table. No plea deal. We're going to trial. Trial is where we're going to be. That's what I would like to see done also. Child killers don't fare well in prison. Now, you'll have the occasional ones that make it through, brag that how they were a child killer and they made it through. That makes it even worse. That makes you want to see them get justice even more when they brag. There's nothing worse than killing a child, an elderly person. You know, that's another biggie in my book too. Children, animals, and elderly persons. You enjoy doing things to them that tortures them or kills them. You are a sicko. You don't need to breathe another breath of our air or dirty up our air any longer. But it happens. It happens much too often. And we cannot lighten up on them. We cannot be light on their sentences. We cannot lighten up on a child killer. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. I want to hear your opinion, folks, on what you think child killers deserve. What do child killers deserve is a question for today. And please let me know if there's something I said that you don't agree with. That's fine. We're all human. I don't do these things for everybody to agree with me. We all have our own minds. So please, fire away about child killers and what they deserve. Thank you. Gary York, True Prison Stories.